I want to congratulate all of the people on board. And Paul, by the way, you got in VPIRG now just an extraordinary leader, and it's been a pleasure working with you. Why do I like VPIRG? And I'll tell you why VPIRG is, in fact, one of my favorite things. A couple of years ago, I went to a meeting in Washington on an environmental issue. And it was a rather large room, and there were different environmental organizations there. I was astounded. This was a few years ago when the environmental movement was very much on the defensive. There were literally dozens of organizations there. Now, what I like about VPIRG is it is not an environmental group. It is not a healthcare group. It is not a campaign finance reform group. It is not a group which speaks to the needs of our children. What it is a progressive grassroots movement which brings all of those issues and many others together. That's its achievement, and that is an extraordinary achievement.
Yes.
Scott Skinner, a moment ago, mentioned something that reminded me of days gone by, of the Tooth Fairy program. We talk a little bit about that and how things happen in the real world. I remember moving from Burlington to Stanford, Vermont. My son was born in 1970. Kid across the way, this is outside of Parkway, kid across the way, who was the son of the town commissioner, was perhaps 10 years old, 12 years old, don't know. Kid had virtually no teeth in his mouth. Teeth were rotting in his mouth. And that is an image that I have never, ever forgotten. But what happened in 1972 is because of people in VPIRG focusing on that issue, it got picked up in the gubernatorial campaign. Is that right, Scott? I remember that because I was in the campaign. It wasn't me. It ended up getting picked up. I talked about it, Tom Salmon picked it up. And that's what happened. And that's what politics and grassroots politics is about and supposed to be about. You develop issues, you push issues at the grassroots level, we raise consciousness on the issue, and we force candidates to have to deal with those issues. Now, the only thing that has disappointed me about VPIRG is somebody mentioned they only send out their door knockers in the summertime. Now, that's pretty wimpy. But also the idea that you're not just sitting in a room. It is very important that people sit in a room and develop public policy. VPIRG does that. But frankly, it is far more important that people go out and knock on doors. One of the debates that's taking place internally in Washington, D.C. is I get a little bit concerned with some of my friends in the Democratic Party with whom I work very closely. They are raising more money than you can believe. Zillions and zillions of dollars. Chuck Schumer is a fanatic. He's raising money 24 hours a day for the Democratic Party. What I worry about is that a lot of that money is going to go to consultants, go to 30-second TV ads and radio ads, and not go into grassroots activism and knocking on doors. Now, Andrea is here, who helped organize this event, and Andrea worked with me during my campaign. And one of the things that I believe in, whether you're in a nonprofit or in a campaign, is the best way you can spend your money is send intelligent, articulate young people all over the state to the trailer parks at the end of the road and knock on doors and sit down in people's living rooms and in their kitchens and talk about the real issues. Because the truth of the matter is, people are hungry to express their point of view. They're hungry to hear about how we can make this state and this country a better place in which to live. And that is precisely what VPIRG is doing. They're knocking on doors and face-to-face talking to people, which is, in my view, as old-fashioned as it may be, is the best means of communication. You get a lot more bang for your buck, in my view. I can tell you because I have put a lot of ads on television. You get a lot more bang for your buck and make real change than putting TV and radio ads on the air. Now, we face, as a nation, extraordinary problems. I don't have to tell anybody, I think I don't have to tell anybody here, that we are in the last year and a half of somebody who will go down in history as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States of America. And while in Congress right now, we are beginning, underline, beginning to move this country in a different direction, there is not the slightest doubt in my mind that we will not be successful, and I'm not just talking about now with Bush in the White House. I'm not just talking about now with Democrats not having 60 votes in the Senate to kill filibusters. I'm talking about the years to come. I'm talking about, hopefully there will be a Democratic president. I suspect the Democrats will gain members in the House and the Senate. But if you think even under that scenario, you are not going to need a strong and vital grassroots movement, you are absolutely kidding yourselves. So what we need to do is to bring forth a progressive agenda that says it is not acceptable for this country to have the highest rate of childhood poverty in the industrialized world at the same time as we give tax breaks to billionaires. It is not acceptable that our political system continues to run on campaign contributions from the wealthy and the powerful. And as VPIRG has said over and over again, we need public funding of elections. As all of you know, in an absolute, when you deal with the Bush administration, it is almost, the word outrageous has lost its meaning. Because what was outrageous yesterday is then matched and exceeded tomorrow. But I do have to say that for a president who thinks that we can give $1 trillion in tax breaks over a 20-year period to the wealthiest 0.3%, to then tell us that we don't have $35 billion over the next 5 years to provide health insurance to 4 million more children, that truly is outrageous. But even understanding that we are making some progress in expanding health insurance to 4 million kids, understand that after we do that, there are still millions of other children who have no health insurance. And please never forget that we remain the only country in the industrialized world that does not guarantee health care to all people as a right of citizenship. And what I can tell you with 100% certainty, not 99%, but 100%, no matter who is President of the United States, no matter who is controlling the House and the Senate, in order for us to establish a national health care program which guarantees health care to all, we are going to need a political revolution in this country, a strong and vital grassroots movement prepared to take on the power of the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical industry, and that is the kind of work that VPIRG does. So let me just say this. I think in the last year there have been very positive changes in this country. The most significant, and sometimes we're taking it a little bit too much for granted. In a critical moment in American history, we have defeated and turned back and put on the defensive the right-wing extremism that ran this country for 6 years. And that is hugely important. Having said that, it is one thing to defeat right-wing extremism. It is an entirely another thing to talk about moving forward on a progressive agenda, and we are not there yet. So I look forward to working with all of you and with VPIRG as we rally the people of our state, as we make our state a model for what grassroots activism can do all over this country.